Good morning, everyone. This is Cindy again from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. This morning I have a project share, flip through infomercial for our Etsy shop, if you will. I thought I would like to share what I've been working on, and I'm really excited about this project because it is something that is way outside of my wheelhouse, my comfort zone, and I thought it would be worth sharing. And so a little bit about what I did here. This is a tag journal inspired by the wonderful Wendy from Wendy's Journal Adventures. I had gotten this little kit from Graphic 45 a while ago, and probably 6 months ago, and it was just 6 tags that were scalloped on the top and had eyelets, and then it had this big ring, and I had no idea what I was going to do with it, and had stuck it in a drawer for probably 6 months. And when I was organizing the other day, I came across it and thought, you know, I need to use this for something. And so my intention was just to make them into tags to put into junk journals. But then I remembered Wendy's video on this tag journal that she made and thought, you know, I'm going to use that kit as the start of this project. And so that's what this is. This journal, tag journal, has 12 tags. They're pretty large, 4 1/4 inches wide by 8 1/2 inches tall. The front and the back covers are chipboard, so it acts like a cover, nice and sturdy. And the 10 tags then in the middle are all pretty sturdy cardstock or layers of cardstock and background papers and collaging and whatnot. So everything is pretty sturdy and are held together by this off-white ring, and each of the holes has an eyelet, and it's pretty sturdy, So another thing I think that sets this journal apart, and really kind of my aesthetic, is that I like to use actual vintage materials rather than using digital kits. I use occasional bits and pieces from digital kits, but I don't use a lot of digital kits. I also don't scan things and kind of hoard the originals. I like to use the originals. I think it honors the item, it honors the people who use them, and gives them new life rather than just scanning and then hoarding all of my bits and bobs. So this front cover, you can see the vocabulary card, Indomitable, and which is vintage, as well as the button and this fabulous French card catalog card, which I've made it into a little pocket here with a couple of small little tags with some botanicals on there. A little bit of room on the back for some journaling. Not much. These are pretty tiny tags. But I meant this book to be used as a journal. And so every page, either the front or the back, or both the front and the back, has lots of room for journaling. The lace here down at the bottom is vintage lace as well. I just picked this up at an antique and adorable, fantastic little antique shop in Napanee, Indiana. And there's a little charm on the front that says Wander. And so I'm going to flip through so you can see what all of my tags look like. And I'm going to do just the front, and then I'll flip it and we'll do the back. So I don't know if I was out of frame there, but there's that lace down on the bottom and the little charm. My camera's at kind of an awkward angle this morning, and I don't want to wind up being off camera for this whole thing. So this tag you can see is this beautiful Edith Holden print of a thistle, purple thistle with some bees on there, a little bit of Dvorak paper right there, and some sari silk that I've sewn on there. So I did actually do some sewing, not a lot, since I was using the front and the back of the tags, but there is sewing throughout the book. Here's another collage, some Tim Holtz vellum on the back, and this beautiful little purple flower, a couple of lines from a poem, and some raffia and ribbon. And we have this little tuck spot with a vintage flashcard, and the tag that I put in there has some sari silk and this little charm with a vintage button on there. Room to journal here and on the back as well. And there's some more of that thistle paper and that Edith Holden. The background paper is from a vintage Jane Eyre book, one of my favorite Gothic romances, and I've just reread it, and so all of the book pages in this journal are all from Jane Eyre. I'm going through it and using this old copy I have in pretty much all of my journals right now. This little devotional card right here I'm using as a pocket, and this is very old, and inside the pocket is this tiny little journal, which also has this little butterfly charm on it. Slip that back in, maybe. I don't know why things are always harder to do on camera, but they are. Here we have some more of that Dvorak. I can't remember what song it is off the top of my head. A couple of little clusters right here with more vintage buttons. Inside the pocket down here on the bottom is a tiny little folder and a little card in there. And if you might recognize this, I accidentally stole this from a hotel, and rather than spend money on the postage for something that they were going to throw away, I decided to use that. And this, and I mean it was an accident. I know us junk journalers have a tendency to, hoard stuff like that, but I did accidentally take the card with me. I thought that turned out really sweet. And that gets tucked into the first pocket. And the pocket on the top has, oops, everything is getting caught. There we go. A couple of mini file folders, and inside there are some tags. You might recognize these as Tracy Fox Digitals. And on the back, I've just mounted them on coffee-stained paper, graph paper on that one. And so those are tucked into the top. The next tag, this is 1939 paper right here. You can see the date up here and this beautiful penmanship, which is why I left so much of it on there. I just love these old ledgers, and there's some more vintage music, and then a little place for journaling right there. And I love this page. Love this page. And this is an old passport photo, and the woman's name is Margetta. You can see right there. And her last name, I believe, is Durasova. I'm not 100% sure. The writing on the back of the picture was a little hard to read, and I just taped this down rather than gluing it. It even has an emboss right here, and I could not read the embossing on there. It's just too, it's not deep enough to really be able to read. I couldn't couldn't see what that said, but this, I believe, is her passport photo. On the inside of the envelope here is just a book page that I put some coffee stained paper on for journaling. And there's another little charm, little fabric and vintage button on there. I just thought, with the vintage map in the background, with her passport photo, I just thought that was just a really sweet page. Here on this one, there's room for journaling here, and then in the pocket there are 2 more tags for journaling. So besides the book being made of 12 large tags, there are another, oh gosh, like 14, 15 more tags in the journal. So it's a tag journal of tags. Here's a double pocket that I made with a vintage math book, elementary school math book, and I've tucked a couple of journaling tags in there, some vocabulary cards, and the little cluster down here has an apple charm and a vintage metal button on there, and of course the sari silk and another beautiful vintage botanical. And this coffee stained bag, of course, you can see is embellished with a little bit more collaging in another cluster. There's some lace up here at the top, and the charm says happy. Inside the bag is a little journal, and I just used some botanical pages for the cover. And on the inside, it's got just miscellaneous papers, kind of your regular junk journal style, and that gets tucked in that little bag. And the inside of the back cover has this little collage with some room for journaling on there, some more of the ledger paper, and some wonderful stamps from New Zealand, and some more Jane Eyre. And that takes us to the back cover. And so the back cover, I've done a layered element right here with some paper on the back, some cheesecloth, some canvas, some paper bag, another botanical print, and then a little poem here, a little bit of lace here on the side, and burlap, and corrugated paper, and coffee stained, and you name it. I layered this back page up like crazy. So our next page is another collage. Slavonic Dance was the name of the song. I knew I had it in here somewhere. So you can use this as a little tuck spot. This page has room for journaling right here, and then this tiny little notebook for some more journaling in this little tiny little pocket. This page has another vintage photograph and the vintage lace, vintage button, some sari silk. It has 2 little tags. This one was a tag from a sweater I just bought. And inside this pocket there's another tag with some tulle on there, journaling space on the back, and just a little bit of coffee stained paper, just an extra little place for journaling. Some more pages from Jane Eyre and Slavonic Dance, a little silk, white silk on there. This is the back of Margetta's page, so there's room here on the postcard for some journaling. Here we have a little paper bag pocket with a couple of places to journal on there. And these were from a digital kit as well, but I'm not 100% sure whose. Probably is Tracy Fox. Although not necessarily. I'll have to see if I can track where I got that one from. Another little charm on here, a little bit more vintage lace. This lace is not vintage. I am out of my tiny antique lace, and so now I'm using some store-bought, but this is vintage right here. Here's another notebook. Lots of room on there for journaling, taking notes, writing lists. This little pocket right here has a card, just very lightly embellished, so there's lots of room on there for journaling. And then here we have a little collage on there, but when you open it up, you see there's lots of room in there. Well, maybe not. Lots of room in there for journaling. It just opens from the corner, and I tucked a little heart in there, a little surprise. Here we have just a spot for journaling and not too much embellishment on there. A little library pocket with some poetry and some vintage botanicals, another little charm down there, a key and a button on the lace. And inside the pocket there are 3 cards for journaling, just your regular library card, an index card, and a postcard with just a little bit of collage on there. Here's another little notebook of coffee stained paper, lots of places to write, and even on the back of the card it's just plain paper so that you can even write on there. And here's the inside of the front cover, and it has a little glassine bag pocket, and inside the pocket, you guessed it, there's another little notebook and just a few little sheets of paper in there, and a little Franken tag with vintage music and botanical pages and some more of that 1939 ledger. And on the back you can use that for writing, and you could cover that up with coffee stained paper if you don't like the stitching on there, but I liked that, and I used a darker green on the front and a lighter green on the back for the stitching, and those all just get slid into the pocket. So there is a lot of stuff going on in this book, and I think it turned out really interesting. And you know, I intended it to be used as a journal, so there's a lot of places in here to journal, lots of little notebooks and tags for journaling. But if obviously it doesn't have to stay a journal. If you want to use the tags in other journals, it just opens up and you can take it apart and use it however you like. And I'm going to have this in our Etsy shop shortly. So that's my first project, and the others I've already kind of shown these in the tutorials, but I wanted to share them just again real quickly, since they are available right now in our Etsy shop. And these are just altered notebooks, composition notebooks. They are 6 inches by 9, so they are smaller than the standard composition notebook. I cut them down, and I left the outside pretty much unembellished so that it wouldn't have a lot of stuff to maybe get caught or to tear if you are using it in your handbag or backpack or book bag or whatever. So the front closure is just some jute along with some Christmas ornaments, these little red balls, and a snowflake and a wreath. And this is not intended to be a Christmas book. There's nothing in it that indicates Christmas, but it is intended to be a winter, kind of a winter theme. So the closure is this belt, and the spine you can see is reinforced with muslin and cheesecloth. And then on the inside pocket, here in the front has a couple of journaling cards, and this there's a place for journaling on this big pocket here, and has a card in there, a huge tag with a paper tab, and then on the back the pocket has a number of little journaling cards and ephemera cards in there. There are 2 divider pages and a bookmark and some charms on here as well. These are jingle bells and snowflakes. And the second one is also the same, except it's a green jingle bell and a snowflake. And then the back has another big pocket with some ephemera journaling cards. And these pockets are, perfect place to put, coupons or, receipts and things if you're out, using the book for shopping. So that's the first one. And the second one, the style is exactly the same, but this one is vintage Wizard of Oz, and you can see the paper I used on the front is like old advertisements from, as if the Wizard of Oz were real. So this one, capital slippers, such delightful comfort for all the family. The Bath Bewitching bath salts. There's a little picture of Dorothy right there. The back, you can see there's Glinda, and Ruby Glow, the cleaning polish for cleaning the Tin Man. Just really delightful little pictures on here. The inside of this one is all Wizard of Oz, and so there are some stickers, some ephemera cards. Here's a vintage Wizard of Oz book page. A little place to journal right here, and this nice big tag in there with some sari silk on there. And on the back there's room for journaling as well. There's some little tags here and an ephemera card in this little poppy pocket. The section dividers on this one are this great Tin Man paper, and the charms are, this one is Dorothy with an O on there for Oz. Here's the bookmark on this one, and this section divider is the same paper, and the tab is a different paper, but this one has the Tin Man and the Z for Oz. And the back pocket has some green glitter paper for the Emerald City. And in the original books, Dorothy's slippers were not red, they were green. So I included those in there, in another vintage book page. And so both of these are already in our Etsy shop. And this fantastic tag journal will be in there shortly. So thanks for watching and hanging out with me this morning. If you haven't already done so, check out our Etsy shop, see what we've got available. Right now we are have a few things in there, kind of looking ahead towards winter. Winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, and some all sorts of fun things. If you're in the market for something for yourself, or you're doing a little bit of shopping for gifts, there might be something in there for you. So check it out. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.